Over 13,200 stores worldwide across 46 different countries and 9,600 stores in the U.S. alone.
The most popular donut restaurant in the U.S., well renowned for their classic donut flavors, partnered with many celebrities,
raking in $1.4 billion and selling over 2.9 billion donuts each year. The first ever store located only miles away from Braintree.
America runs on Dunkin'. But how did we get here?
Donuts track all the way back to the 1600s, when the Dutch immigrated to the United States and brought oil cakes, a Dutch donut, to New Netherlands. Although they weren't the most popular at the time, the donut industry began to shape itself. In 1847, the classic ring-shaped donut emerged. Two theories are thought to have led the creation of the shape. The first being that the Dutch intentionally shaped the donut to have a hole in the middle so that it could be easily dunked into coffee. Whereas the other theory involves a New England ship captain named Hanson Gregory and his mother, Elizabeth Gregory. Miss Gregory made a deep-fried donut with nutmeg and cinnamon, so the crew could enjoy it, but in the center of the donut was hazelnut and walnuts. Some historians believe that Captain Gregory gave the donut its shape when he needed both hands on the wheel in a storm. We may never know why they really got their shape, but it has left a long-lasting impact on donuts today.
During the 1920s, a little after the end of the Second Industrial Revolution, donuts started to really surge with the creation of the first automated donut machine. It was invented in New York by Adolf Levitt, a Russian refugee, and it led to the donut manufacturing boom. Crowds would line up outside theaters, and it pushed Levitt to make something that would churn the tasty rings faster and satisfy the hungry crowd. Levitt's donut machine was the first sign that the donut could become a public spectacle, causing machines to become more precise and efficient. With this invention, the idea of donut making spread. By 1931, Levitt earned $25 million a year from wholesale deliveries to bakers around the country. Donuts were on the rise. Then, in 1934, mechanically produced donuts began, fried in an automated donut apparatus and served on the spot. This dazzled visitors at the tech-themed World Fair in Chicago. They were known as the food hit of the Century of Progress.
Thanks. We rode around all afternoon. Father was frantic. By 6 o'clock, he was having all the rivers dragged.
Say, where'd you learn to dunk? In finishing school?
Oh, now, don't you start telling me I shouldn't dunk.
Of course you shouldn't. You don't know how to do it. Dunking's an art. Don't let it soak so long. A dip and flop in your mouth. You let it hang there too long and get soft and fall off. It's all a matter of timing. Oh, I'll write a book about it.
The start of World War I was a powerful stimulant to the growth and popularity of donuts in 1914. At this time, donuts represented comfort, safety, and brought back memories of home to the soldiers. Red Cross women, also known as donut lassies, handed out donuts to thousands of soldiers. These women were sent to care for soldiers during the war in 1917 by the Salvation Army General Evangeline Booth. Margaret Sheldon and Helen Provence were two lassies stationed at the 1st Division Montier Urso, needing to do something to lift soldiers' spirits, taste of home, and comfort. Donuts seemed like the perfect fix to hunger because supplies were difficult to obtain and donut ingredients were common, like flour, sugar, lard, baking powder, cinnamon, and canned milk were used to make them. Made in frying pans and even sometimes in soldiers' helmets, the donuts drew soldiers to tents. Donuts found themselves on the front lines in wars, and they did more than just to satisfy the soldiers' physical hunger. It satisfied them spiritually as well. These women at the time were seen as courageous and driven by the Christian spirit, with a total of 250 officers and volunteers.
Campaigns were even made to show the impact of the Salvation Army at the time. The image shows a donut lassie, a 20-year-old girl named Stella Young. The purpose is to show the impact of donuts made by the Salvation Army during the war. The donuts provided a sense of home and comfort for the soldiers during the war. The donuts helped to ease a hunger for home, not just physical hunger. The image of the Salvation Army in donuts reflects them in a positive light, with smiles across the faces of the soldier and the donut lassie. The soldier in this picture looks very happy as he is excited and looks forward to the reward of a donut after a long day at war. During the war, donuts, although overlooked, provided a sense of comfort for the soldiers away from home, giving them spirits to continue fighting. Although donuts are perceived as nothing more than a sweet treat to people today, they hold a historical significance that is important for us to recognize so we don't take these treats for granted. Donuts were used to lighten the mood of war and represented something soldiers look forward to.
National Donut Day was created by the Salvation Army in 1938 to commemorate their work and help those in need during the Great Depression. Aside from lifting the spirits of soldiers, donuts also lifted the spirits of those who were hit by the Great Depression. People wanted to try to help in any way possible, and donuts were a part of that. Papers were written on how to make the perfect donut. helping women to provide for their family during times like this. Advertisement instructed women on how to bake fried foods like donuts at their homes. The audience is women at home of all ages, telling them to not be afraid to make donuts because they think it might be too heavy or too greasy. It encourages them to make donuts at home because they can be enjoyed by the whole family, which can be shown through the picture of the quintessential American family making donuts. Donuts not only shaped big companies like Dunkin' Donuts, but also empowered women to feel that they could make a difference even from home.
In 1948, William Rosenberg launched a donut shop called the Open Kettle in Quincy, Massachusetts. 2 years later, the name changed to Dunkin' Donuts. Although the place has been modernized since 1948, it still has a nostalgic feel to it. We talked to Jason Hammett, the senior manager of franchisee engagement at Dunkin' Brands, for some insight.
In simplest form, and that's what you get when you see that original Dunkin', very much old school, classic kind of diner, right? Counter, people sitting there, not a takeout place, right? When you go back that far, more of a sit down, have a cup of coffee. Probably were smoking cigarettes in there back then, all that kind of stuff. And they've remodeled to our latest next gen image. However, they intentionally didn't. They tried to keep some of the kind of classic nostalgia kind of feel to it. It's still like a diner-ish kind of look, even though they modernized it.
Since the creation of Dunkin' Donuts, the icon of the brand has continued to evolve with it.
This is the wall of all the past icons that Dunkin' used to have. And as you can see, over time, they've changed a lot. And now our current Dunkin' is right here.
The name change from Open Kettle to Dunkin' Donuts was not the last change. Most recently, in 2019, the name changed from Dunkin' Donuts to Dunkin' for business purposes.
We were so known as a coffee and beverage, obviously with some donuts and sandwiches and snacks here in the Northeast, and even all the way down the East Coast, pretty much. But people saw Dunkin' Donuts and they were like, "Oh, they're a donut shop," and we wanted to position ourselves as more than that and really capture the beverage business. Which, again, to give you some perspective, in the Northeast, about 70% of our sales is beverage. And if you go the farther west you start to go, it starts to get down 50%, 40%, 30%.
Similar to Levitt's donut machine, production of donuts for Dunkin' has been further revolutionized by using a technique called central manufacturing locations, also known as CMLs. CMLs are production areas that mix, proof, fry, glaze, and finish the donuts that we see in stores today. Some stores still have to frost their own donuts, but for others, everything is ready to sell when they get their shipment.
This will serve all of our stores and make all our lives significantly better, right? Much less labor intense in the individual Dunkin' because you're doing the labor elsewhere. So most CMLs are designed basically to break even or make a little bit of money so that they have some reserve to do things like repairs and just upkeep, invest in new machines as they come out, things like that, and reduce labor in the restaurant, right? Because it's costing them a little more per donut than obviously it would be for them to make it themselves. But the benefits far outweigh the little extra cost of the donut.
To boost profitability and minimize waste, Dunkin' decided to use the extra dough in the center of donuts to make munchkins.
Dough, if you think about it like in its raw form, to get this shape, you have to cut the hole in the center. So you can either take that and throw it aside, or you come up with something fun, which somebody figured out, that we could use this, sell it. Obviously, it appeals to younger children, tend to really like them a lot. They're easy. I know it's easy to share. It was in the Bay Area near San Francisco. We were selling more than $2,000 a day in munchkins alone.
Although Dunkin' is extremely influential in the Northeast, donuts are more popular in the West, creating a desire for expansion. Competition with other donut shops like Krispy Kreme are more prevalent in the West compared to the Northeast.
If you go to West or South, you get to things like where Krispy Kreme has a very large donut presence. And so I went and helped open some of those stores in California. And that's exactly the kind of business that we were seeing there. Just insane. Everyone's coming in and buying 2 dozen, 3 dozen, like person after person after person, same thing, and like amazing amounts of donuts.
Being a donut shop, Dunkin' capitalizes on National Donut Day, which falls on the first Friday of every June. This year, they offered a free donut with every beverage purchased, and like the Salvation Army back in World War I, it was meant to lift the people's spirits.
many people don't know, right? They don't maybe see advertisements or pay a lot of attention. Maybe they don't watch a lot of TV. Maybe they don't spend a lot of time on social media or other things. So hopefully it's a surprise when the team members in the restaurant hopefully recognize if you were to go through in the morning on your way to work or school and say, I'd like whatever beverage, and they say, how about a free donut today? And people go, what did you say? Like, did you offer me something for free?
The oily cakes brought by the Dutch have evolved into an interconnected global donut business that provides affordable and easily accessible donuts to everyone.
Dunkin' is an on-the-go business, right? For the most part, it's very blue collar. It's meant for the average everyday person. And the idea that Dunkin' is on your way to work, to school, to your sports, etc., it's just a kind of a way to try to show that Dunkin' relates to everybody, and we're here for you wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, and we're going to help you get there and hopefully get through your day and hopefully start you off with a smile and get you on the right foot.
Although donuts may seem to be nothing more than a sweet treat, they have greatly impacted the globe.
Do not count donuts out of history.
Reporting for A-Push, this is Caitlin Chen, Bella Duffy, and Izzy Ackerman.